Sexism in sports is nothing new, from pay gaps to online abuse. Women in the industry face barriers that their male counterparts rarely experience.
Today, I'm joined by someone who knows this firsthand. Gabriella Jukes, a respected sports broadcaster and presenter who has had her own experiences with sexism in the industry. Gabriella, thanks for joining me today. With International Women's Day this weekend, it feels like the right time to talk about this. What have your experiences in the sports media industry been with misogyny and sexism?
I think even from the start, coming to university, I noticed there was definitely a difference between the male and females in the industry. Even on my course, for example, there was 3 women compared to there's 20 of us all together with 3 women. So even then I noticed there was definitely an imbalance. But I think an example I've got is when I got the job at Swans TV. I was the presenter there for Swans TV, and even then the Sun created an article about me, and on the whole the article was pretty positive in terms of what the contents of it was. However, they did use images of me on holiday in my bikini, suggesting that I was there kind of just to be looked at rather than talking about like maybe my talents or why I actually deserve to be there because I know my stuff and I was qualified for the job. So that's a good example, I think, of how maybe women are treated differently, particularly in the media, because no way would they have done that if it was a male presenter.
That must have been really frustrating. But do you think that is still kind of a big issue in the industry today?
Definitely. I think you can't go a day without hearing, seeing any form of sexism or misogyny when it comes to women in sport. I see it on my social media from personal friends, family as well, which I make sure to always shout out or call out whenever I see it. But I think it comes from maybe the older generation a lot. I feel like the younger generation coming through hopefully are changing things because they've seen a different side of it. They've seen women in the industry, and I think it's that saying, if you can see it, you can be it. So hopefully young girls coming through won't experience it as much maybe as before, but there's still a lot to do.
So there is a double standard, and it's clear to see. With women's sports, there's less funding, there's less coverage, and less female role stars in the kind of limelight. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just because that is the way it always has been. Things haven't been able to change, but now we are seeing more women in leadership positions. In the FAW, things are making a big shift there. We're seeing more women getting involved and getting jobs, and they are doing things to try and get more women into jobs in football particularly. They have the FAWB football mentorship programme, which I was proud to be a part of as a mentor myself. So there's 2 sides to it. You can either be a mentor or a mentee as well, and young girls will come on who have aspirations of working in football from all different aspects, whether that's media, physiotherapy, leadership, coaching, all sides of it. They're doing great things to try and push that forward, and it's great to see that young women who have been on that programme years ago that are now actually working in the FAW. So it's really encouraging to see that happening, and from an organisation like the FAW for doing such things like that.
So you've been really vocal about your experiences and what you've faced in the industry in terms of misogyny and sexism. Do you think this could possibly discourage the next generation of sports broadcasters?
There's a lot of history, especially with football, with women in football. Obviously there was the ban for 50 years, so no wonder why there's such a difference in the way that the male or female game is. But we are seeing more female broadcasters coming in now. We've seen the likes of Gabby Logan for years coming through, so hopefully, every year things are getting better. Then there's people paving the way for those younger generations to come through, but hopefully they don't get discouraged. There are a lot of things, as I mentioned, out there now to help them, like Her Game Too, as I mentioned, and organisations like that are really working really hard to stamp out sexism, misogyny, whether that's through fans as well, female fans, and hopefully female sport as a whole is only going to grow and grow from all aspects.
It is really disheartening to hear, but it is great to see women like you pushing back against that misogyny and the sexism. What do you think are possibly the next steps in eradicating that from
the media and from sport?
I think it's really important for people to speak out about it. If you've experienced it, definitely talk about it, because the more the people are aware, the more hopefully things can change and things are put in place for those things to change. But also I think it's really important to be aware that it's not just a women's problem, it's a cultural problem as well. Men need to get involved. We need more male allies to shout out about it as well. And if they see or hear anything, to call it out. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm really lucky that I've had a lot of male allies whilst working as a woman in sport. And I think when it comes to the media as well, they really need to focus more on women's sport, because it'll only grow the more investment that it does have. And I think they need to not treat it as an afterthought. Just doing it for the sake of it, because women's sport is brilliant. People love women's sport. That comes from all aspects as well, not just, from the athlete side, but the media side. And we would see more representation. And I hopefully things will improve and get better in the future.
This International Women's Day, let's call out the sexism and misogyny and make sport a place where everyone, no matter their gender, is valued.